Go live. There we go.
Okay, now it says we're live.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
good morning.
How are you, Erin?
I am great this morning. I am glad that we have figured out the tech for episode 1 of the Zone Chat.
Yes, so everyone, welcome to the Zone Chat. I am Pam Meister, founder of OrganWise.
And I am Erin Pennings. I'm a copywriter and marketing strategist, and I am founder of Copy Snacks. And so this is our new podcast that we're really excited to be sharing with you. It's more of a video cast than a podcast, but we will also be sharing this to other locations soon.
Yes, it's the Zone Chat. So we just have to get used to all the words, but we are building a community of incredible people who are reimagining work to find joy, gain accountability, build a network, and find momentum to focus on their goals. We call it The Zone. You can find us on thezonecommunity.com. And today we are talking about community.
Yes. So we went out to social media a couple times in the last week to ask what community means to your business. And we've had some interesting responses. I think for the most part, Pam, most people are on the same page that community does amazing things for your business. And the format of these shows is going to be, we give you a question, we talk about audience input, we share our experiences and opinions, and then we give you some of our things that we found in our experience that work really well for us and that you can try yourselves. So in terms of community, when I first started out in business, I was like, cool, I'm just here. The only people I need to talk to are my clients, not realizing the value of building an awesome network, not just for referrals, but the ability to bounce ideas off other people, find out what they're doing, get new ideas, and really share this influx of ideas. And so I'll get a little bit more into this later, but I started to have these amazing conversations with people all around the world because, I've been working from home on and off for 10 years now, but 100% full time from home since 2015. And I was like, the people I'm working with and talking to initially were the people that I thought I needed to be talking to. What I didn't understand is that there are, I'm going to say millions, but maybe it's just hundreds of thousands of people out there who are in similar situations, who are trying to build a business, trying to go out and figure out the best way to do what it is that they do. And we all have similar problems. Like, whether or not we go about solving them the same way, we all have such similar problems. And so I was able to uncover a lot of that in these conversations. And it's intimidating to reach out and be like, hey, because a lot of people think that you're trying to sell them something. And I think, with these conversations that we have, you don't need that. You don't need to be selling to each other because you're educating each other about ideas. And to me, that's where the next big idea comes from. And that's really how Pam and I met, was to talk about ideas and the flow of things. And I'll let you share your experience now because I've been talking for a couple
And what's
minutes.
beautiful about what you just said, Erin, honestly, is when you aren't trying to sell everyone you meet and you're just building relationships and forming a community, you actually are setting that foundation for sales conversations that don't feel like they are sales conversations. So I don't know about you, but most of the time when I know somebody and I get to form a relationship with them, at some point or the other, I either end up working with them, they end up working with me for one of the things that we do, or we refer people to each other. So when you form a community, you're building friendships and relationships. You're truly understanding in much more depth than you can from an initial sales conversation what someone does, what they're about, their ethics, how they work, and finding the right fit. And then you can truly refer people that you meet along the way to people within your network and your community so that you're finding better business relationships as a result. And the perk is then you're oftentimes doing business with friends, which some people can say, can be tricky, but I think you kind of learn how to navigate that and draw those lines in the sand so that you are having a professional relationship when necessary, but doing so with people that you actually like and enjoy. And I'm all about joy. And I think that that's really important when we have conversations about community and the value of building these networks and relationships.
Yeah, I'd say, referrals almost always come out of really good friendships because there's that trust factor. And so if you go out looking for referrals only, I would say that's not the way to build a community. You focus on friendship first and figure out how you can help one another. And then from there, the referrals come because it's that know, like, and trust factor. And it's like, I love introducing people to you and to some of the other gals that we've worked with over the last couple of years, because I do trust that my clients are going to be in good hands. Or if they're not my clients, I trust that they're not going to say, wow, that Erin girl, or rather that they are going to say, wow, that Erin girl, she has an incredible network.
Mm-hmm.
She always makes the best recommendations. And that's something that I really value, to be able to say, I've got someone who can solve this problem for you. They've done it better than anyone else, and you can trust them to show up.
And I think it's so important. And beyond even just collaborations and referrals, and having someone to solve problems with, I really find that you can find some really amazing opportunities just to learn new things when you build a community, and find support as well. So they're just beyond like which tools to use or having someone to kind of answer those questions, or, have you tried this or does this work? Um, Having that support to celebrate when something goes well, or to kind of cry on the shoulder when something doesn't, is really invaluable from other people that are going through it with you. It's like a support group.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster in business. You have times where you're flying great, and then you lose that one big client or four in the same week, ironically, and you have to rebuild. And you need people around you to say, "Wait, this is okay. This happens," or "I've been through it," and give you that moral support and cheerlead with you when you land that first really big retainer or whatever you're looking for. And sometimes, like, some people get that from their family or their friends offline and outside of business, but some people don't. And sometimes you get it from both places. But to me, when you build a community, you're building yourself that support system that we all need in life, in all areas of business, and particularly when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm grinning over here because my daughter's playing on her iPad, which is one of the things. Like, the community can give you that permission to be where you are right now. And it's okay to be where you are. Like, and all of us, like you and I, Pam, have done this for years with our kids in and out, and everyone meets our kids, and that's just how it is. But all of a sudden, a year ago, everyone else in the world was struggling with the same thing. Like, oh, our kids are part of what we do. And all of a sudden, having that community of people around us made it so much easier to navigate because of the lonely factor of 2020, because so many people, whether you had that support from your family or not, all of a sudden everyone was in a very similar boat and trying to navigate this. I hate the word new normal, but so we're going to call it this new take on the world. And I'm lucky in the fact that my family is supportive, but on the other hand, they don't get it. This is not their world. So they, how can I say this? I get saying things and then I lose track of my sentence mid-thought.
Well, something you said touched a button. So many people who didn't work remotely before all of this craziness that's hit our world really became apologists very quickly in meetings that I would have with them. Some of my corporate clients that were looking for strategy about remote work and how to transition and how to optimize would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My spouse just chimed in. Oh, you can hear my dog barking," or "My child ran in. Oh no." And we kept seeing memes about it and newscasters reporting on it. And I would laugh because I was like, okay, this has been my reality for a long time. And it's part of actually what is endearing about working remotely, because you get to know people better. And if you think about a lot of the problems people have at work, it's when you don't feel like you have a relationship with the people you're working with, and it's such a transactional situation. And that's different. You do want to keep, business and personal separate in certain ways, but when you have that community that people kind of understand and can relate to the fact that your child might pop into a meeting, or that you might hear like your spouse on Zoom, like through the next door. Um,
Or your dog barks categorically every day at 4:30 when the neighbors start to come home, or your cat's like weaving its way across your keyboard, and everyone gets this glimpse into your life. Or you might be like, oh, gotta change the laundry, gotta take meat out of the oven. And usually that happens between meetings, but you never know. Like it's really interesting to get those glimpses into people's lives that you wouldn't normally.
It's totally true. And I think that it helps you build that community. It gives you kind of those breadcrumbs to form connections. And it's funny because there was a blog post that I wrote with someone, or someone else wrote on my blog actually for me a couple years ago. And it was, do you mind if I eat while we meet? Because you'd find yourself on Zoom meetings, like one after the other. And some people would say, oh my gosh, you can't have a snack or like a coffee while we're meeting. We're in a meeting. This is formal, as if we're in a boardroom. And I would say, well, if you're in a Zoom meeting for 8 hours straight in a day, at some point you're going to want a granola bar. And it's okay with me if it's okay with you. And I think learning these new nuances about what is acceptable or isn't, it's not, there's not one right answer. But I think having a community sometimes helps you navigate those, where you have someone to ask, like, Erin, when you go and you meet with a new client, would you bring like your lunch with you? I would say no. But if it's an existing client who you meet with every week and it's at noon, you might agree that it's okay to do so, and you check with someone. So having these people to bounce stuff like that off of, about what is acceptable or professional or a better way to navigate something, like, hey, someone didn't pay my invoice, and troubleshooting, like, do I ask them again or do I let it go? Do you think it was a mistake or did it end up in spam? Those kinds of things that you can just have people that are at your fingertips that you already have that relationship with are invaluable, because they're going through it too. So for me, when you talk about community, it's so many things. It's not just one answer.
Right. Yeah. And maybe it's a loaded question to talk about, but I still think it's the perfect thing to talk about our first episode. And you said something else, like you're going from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting. That's not something that happens in the real world. Like, what is the real world? But it's not something that happens in like our former real world, because you cannot physically go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting unless you're in like the speed dating situation. Right. And so Zoom has made it so people book a 9 a.m. to 9:59, a 10 a.m. to a 10:59. And so when do you take a break? When do you eat? When do you gulp down your Starbucks tumbler of water, like I always have with me? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I think that's probably a talk for a future episode. Like, how do you handle those boundaries? But I think that's where the community can give you like best practices that other people have found that work for them. And then you can say, and then whether you're in this big group room where someone's piping up and you want to talk with them offline, and have these room for other conversations where that grows.
I'm always telling people that when you have issues with boundaries, or you have issues with Zoom fatigue, or you have any of these issues that are popping up with remote work, that there are solutions, offering them and trying to help people understand that there's not, it's not insurmountable, it's just different. And I think it's important to recognize, and we're definitely going to talk about boundaries in a future episode. Yes. I have tons of tips, more than I could just quickly shoot off now. But I think it's really key to understand that everyone has their zone of genius and their area of expertise. Budding or fully, evolved, and someone really knows something after decades of doing it. When you get in a community, you have access to tap into that expertise, and you don't even realize it, because there are things you don't know what you don't know. And so when you're in a community, sometimes you get these nuggets of amazing information that transform your day or your life. Someone gave me a great laundry tip once about how to not overcome like having mounds of it all the time. Granted, I still have mounds of it, but it's a little less overwhelming, but it was a helpful tip. I've had other people talk to me about other like parenting tips, things that are even outside of work. It's not always work related, but just help you de-escalate stressful situations, or make things more fun. Like, make things more fun. Sometimes I sit outside with my laptop and work, and that's cool, because you can work from anywhere. If the internet reaches and I'm on a meeting, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sandra just sent us a note saying she's having a hard time finding our stream. So we're going to make sure that it gets posted a few different places today.
Absolutely. And if
So
you're watching this on the replay and you have comments, please comment. Let us know your questions, your thoughts, because we definitely will check those and get back to you and let you know, if we have any other tips or advice, or just say thanks so much for
yeah,
trying. We want to know you're watching. So please write #replay, and we're going to work on the tech end so that more of you can see this live moving forward, because we've never done the simulcast before using StreamYard, which is what we're using. So for the community out there watching, if you use something different that you like, let me know. So far, I like this, but it's, day one with the tool.
right. And learning new things is, yeah, we're learning new things as we go. So we have a few minutes left. We said we're going to keep these to 20 minutes. So I know sometimes we're going to go longer than that, and sometimes, we're going to go shorter. But I want to talk, if we can, about some ways that people can start building community if they're not tapped into something. So
Absolutely. So I have a tip. I know you at least have a tip. You want to go first?
Sure. I can always talk. I may talk in circles, but I can always talk. So I think my biggest tip is to just start having conversations with people. Jump in, pretend you're meeting at a coffee shop. If you have a local network, why not meet at a coffee shop if it's safe and, whatever, we'll say coronavirus precautions, and you feel comfortable. But why not just show up on a Zoom chat with someone with your coffee and literally have coffee and chat about what each other does? I went to a conference online, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, and we did speed dating. And it was so cool. We had 5 minutes, and it was like, boom, boom, boom. Get to know each other, what you do, what you like to do, where you are, problems you solve. And if you're not sure where to reach out, hop into the Reimagine Work Facebook group, hop into maybe areas of your niche, and just start say, hey, I want to get used to talking to people more. And you'll be amazed at how many people are willing to have those coffee conversations with you. And it doesn't have to be a thing. Just say, hey, let's have coffee, and show up and make it casual. And most people aren't going to try to sell you.
Right. And what's really key, regardless of other people's intent, to kind of making yourself comfortable, and this is my tip, is to be authentic. You want to just show up as you. So there's no one way to present yourself, to sell what you do, to explain what you do, to introduce yourself. But the only way that I call wrong is when you're trying to be somebody else. When you're replicating that person out there who's made the 6 figures you're aspiring to or more, or who's doing what you do, because they're likely successful because they've been authentically them in building their business or being the person at their company that has that specific role if they're, in a job and not just building a business. So regardless of life, when you show up for an interview for a job, or you show up for a coffee chat where you're just trying to network and get to know somebody, if you're yourself, which seems kind of silly to have to remind people, but just comfortable in your own skin, it makes a world of difference.
It's interesting that you say that, because many lifetimes ago, I was a tour director for motor coaches on tourism. And I did always feel like I was putting on this persona, and it was still me. It was very authentic, but it was like to get comfortable and to be the entertainment. But remember, you don't have to entertain. It's not your job to entertain people on these networking calls. It is just your job to show up and be clear. And there's nothing wrong with having like an entertaining persona if it's you.
Absolutely. And also having like a goal in mind. Like, I like to make sure at the end of my coffee chats, I always know how I can continue a conversation with someone moving forward, or refer people to them if I meet someone that may need what they have to offer. And I also make sure that people know how to keep in touch with me, because I like to keep those relationships going. So when I feel that I've had a successful coffee chat, it's because I've gotten to know you, you've gotten to know me, we know how to remain in contact. Anything more than that, wonderful. But at the end of the day, when you show up and you're real and you're you, that's important. And like you said, when you were the tour director, you felt like you almost put on this like base one version of you. I mean, we all do that. We all wear different hats. And I do recommend you have kind of a routine where you feel comfortable. But if you know that there's a certain space or place in your home office or wherever you work from that makes you feel relaxed and like you have the ability to have an easy conversation. That's why I recommend having these initial networking conversations so that you do show up and your true personality shines through, because that's what people are attracted to and that's what builds the trust that forms the foundation that you need for everything, including becoming members of each other's community and not just an acquaintance that you meet once in passing.
Yeah, so maybe what we can do here as part of this is into the show notes and links that we are creating, we'll pop our individual links for coffee chats if anyone out there wants to sit down with either one of us and have a cup of coffee.
I
We
love it.
can probably down the road work on one where we have a group coffee, but to start with, let's pop our own links in here.
Yeah, and if for some reason you want to meet with both of us now, just make a note when you schedule it, and we'll see if we can make it happen, even if we've defined a different time. We're also going to pop a link in for thezonecommunity.com, where you'll have information coming your way about these zone chats, as well as how to find us on Facebook and our online virtual co-working and networking membership, which actually meets right after this at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays and a few other times during the week as well. So if you have any interest in joining any of these so you can hang out with us more, we'd love to have you. And if you have questions, you're always welcome to message us as well on Facebook or schedule a coffee chat.
Yeah. And so let's talk, I know we're a little over time, but let's spend like the next 30 seconds talking about the zone community. We introduced it at the very beginning of the podcast, of this episode, but let's talk a little bit more about what that looks like. What can people expect coming into the zone community?
So the zone community is a great space for anyone who works remotely, or frankly, even if you don't, but you want to connect with people who do. Whether you're working for an employer or yourself, we all need times to focus to get things done. We want to build communities and a network for collaboration, for referrals, for friendship, for all the things we talked about. So the zone community is here to help you do just that. Right now, we're meeting 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for co-working, and once a month on the first Wednesday of the month for a special event. It might be a mastermind, a networking event, some type of fun online social event. But we're getting together to kind of build our community strong and to help each other get things done.
And we plan to offer workshops as well. So if there are things that are really interesting to you that you want to learn about, whether it's in Pam's wheelhouse, my wheelhouse, or something totally different. So if you're looking for business strategy, marketing strategy, copywriting information, that's things that Pam and I both do really well. But if you're looking for Facebook ads or web design information, we have this incredible network of people. It comes back to that community that we can tap to help lead some of these workshops. So
absolutely. And we can help refer you to the right fit if we aren't able to do what you need. So part of joining us here each week is just to have a great conversation about different topics. We welcome you. We're going to be here the same time Tuesdays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and we'll repost for replay for those of you around the world that might be sleeping. But we still want you to be able to chime in, and we'll always check comments. If you have questions about the zone community, reach out. And if there's anything we can do to help you build a community of your own or join ours, we would love to chat.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think it's just about time for the zone to start. So we will hopefully be seeing you all in the zone.
Yeah, and next week we're going to pop on and talk about what was your epiphany.
So what was your reason for getting to where you are right now? What made you do it? We want to hear.
And what have you learned in the last year, maybe even, that might have gotten you further on the right track? So we will be with you live 1 week from now. Have a great one, and thanks for tuning in.
Have a good one.